Hello everybody, I'm Jamie from the Haliburton County Public Library and welcome to another Thursday Maker Break. Today I thought that in honor of upcoming spring and all the bugs and green things that I'm hoping we're going to see very soon, that we would make something green named after a bug. So today we are going to be making Grasshopper Brownie Bars. Let's head on into the kitchen and I'll show you how it's done. All right, everybody, so we're back in the kitchen here, and I just wanted to show you the ingredients you're going to need to make these spectacular brownie bars. Now, there are 3 different layers. The first layer, the brownie layer, this is what you're going to need. You are going to need 1 1/4 cups of semi-sweet chocolate. Now, you can use chips, you can use baking chocolate, you can get crazy and use the expensive dark chocolate bars if that's what you prefer, as long as it's semi-sweet. You are going to need 3/4 cup of butter. You're going to need 3 large eggs and 1 yolk, so 4 eggs total. You can save the white to do something else with or feed it to your dog or whatever it is you want to do with that. It's entirely up to you, but you'll only need the yolk on the 4th egg. You'll need a teaspoon of vanilla. You'll need a 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour. You will need 1/3 cup of cocoa powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 cup of brown sugar, and just a pinch of salt. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we want to cut up our butter into little pieces in a microwave-safe bowl. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop this in the microwave in about 15-second intervals until it is all melted. So that's what we're going to do here. Ta-da! Melted butter. So now that our butter's all melted and liquidy, we are going to add our chopped chocolate or chocolate chips, whichever you choose to use. And we're going to just mix this up until it is nice and smooth. And if, like mine, you find that your chocolate has not melted all the way, and it won't melt anymore because your butter has cooled off a little, then all you want to do is pop this back in the microwave again for about 10 seconds and just keep warming it up that way until all of those little chocolate nuggets are melted and nice and smooth. So I'm just going to give this a quick microwave and I'll be back in a flash. And voila, nice smooth chocolate. So now we just want to set this aside to cool down a little, not enough that it'll solidify, but we basically want it to get back to room temperature, and we will move on to the next step. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to take a largish bowl and we want to add our 3 eggs and the yolk and our brown sugar and our vanilla, and we want to just whip it. I recommend for this, you can use your hands, but it will pretty much cause your arm to fall off. So I recommend actually using a hand blender for this. So we're just going to put these 3 ingredients in our bowl and we're going to whip it until it's light and a little bit airy for about 2-3 minutes. And the last one here is just the yolk. So we've got 3 eggs and 1 yolk. Now I'm going to add in my brown sugar. I'm just gonna break it up a little bit here, make it easier for the machine to whip. And I'm going to add my vanilla extract. And now we just take our electric mixer here and we let it rip. Alright, so you can see here that our mixture has lightened quite significantly and it's nice and thick. That's what we're looking for. So now that we have our egg sugar mixture nice and thick, we want to bring the chocolate back in here. And do make sure that your chocolate is room temperature and not hot, because if it's hot, it's going to curdle your eggs and that is not what you want. So basically, if you can stick your finger in this chocolate and you don't feel any warmth at all, that's what you're looking for. So now we want to take our chocolate and we want to very carefully fold it into our egg sugar mixture here, just like this. I just want to gently fold this together here. It looks good to me. What do you think? And now what we want to do is we want to take our dry ingredients, our flour, our cocoa, our salt, and our baking powder here. And we just want to give that a quick tap in together. Give it a mix. And then we want to very gently fold this into our chocolate mixture here. And we want to fold this in just until that flour disappears. We don't want to go crazy with the mixing here, otherwise our brownies will turn out too cakey, and that's not what we want. Everybody likes a chewy brownie. Now we want to take our batter, we want to pour it into our prepared pan here. This is an 8x8, you can use a 9x9. That's about the size that you want this, and you can just butter and flour your pan if you like, but I like using parchment paper because that makes the brownies easier to get out of this pan if you want to actually slice them up. Or if you don't want to do that, you can serve them right out of the pan as is. I just think they look prettier if you can cut them up separately. So I've got my prepared pan here, and I am just going to go ahead and pour the brownie batter in, just like so. All right, so we just want to smooth the batter into the corners of the pan here because it's a little bit thick. Go, and a few little taps don't hurt either. And now we want to just pop this into our preheated oven, and I will meet you back up when we are all done. And here we have our finished brownie base. Now you'll notice it is a little bit puffed up on the top. It will level out a little once it cools. And before we go to the next step, we have to make sure that our brownies are 100% cool. Otherwise, the next step will not work. So let's set these aside and we will move on to the second layer. Okay, so while our brownies are cooling, we want to assemble the second layer, which is our peppermint frosting layer. So for this, you're going to need 2 cups-ish of powdered sugar. You're going to need 1/4 cup of butter. You're going to need 4 ounces, or about half of a block of cream cheese. You're going to need a few tablespoons of whipping cream. You're going to need about 3/4 to a full teaspoon of peppermint extract. And you're going to need some green food coloring. Now also, optionally, if you happen to have some around, you can also add about 3 tablespoons of creme-de-menthe liqueur if you'd like. If you want to go the completely alcohol-free route, just stick with the mint extract here. So those are the ingredients we are going to need to make our frosting layer, and let me just show you how to do that. Alright, so once again, I'm going to suggest you use a hand blender for this one because you want to be able to whip up this frosting so that it's nice and light. Again, you can give it a try without, but your arm may fall off. So I recommend using your blender here. So the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to take our cream cheese and our butter, and we're going to plop them in the bowl. And we are just going to slowly whip this together until the two of them are a little bit lighter. Alright, so now we've got our butter and our cream cheese mixed together, and it's been whipped up a little bit, so it's a little bit more of a lighter texture. So now what we want to do is we want to add our powdered sugar. Now I do recommend sifting this before you add it to your icing because it's going to help get rid of any little lumps that you might have in your icing sugar, which is just something that happens all the time with icing sugar. So we're going to add this a little bit at a time because too much is just going to throw it everywhere and make a big mess. Okay, so you can see here we have a nice thick frosting, which is exactly what we're looking for. So now what we want to do is we want to add a few drops of our green food coloring, just a few. Enough to give it some lovely green spring coloring. And we want to add our creme-de-menthe and our extract. Now if you're using just the peppermint, you want to go maybe 1/2 to 3/4 of the peppermint extract. If you're also using the creme de menthe, you want to maybe only go with 1/2 or 1/4 teaspoon, depending on how minty you like your frosting, because peppermint extract is quite strong. So if you're also using the creme de menthe, you want to tone this down a bit, but if you're not, go ahead and use as much as your taste buds enjoy. So I'm going to go with about 1/2 teaspoon here, because I'm skipping the creme de menthe today. And I'm just going to bring back my whipper because it's going to blend that in a little more quickly. And there again is our lovely green frosting, our second layer for our brownie bars. Now, if this is too super thick, the cream here, you just want to add a little bit of whipping cream, or even table cream will work if that's all you have. You want to add this about a teaspoon at a time, just to thin it out a little. I personally like nice thick frosting, but it depends on you. So if you want to thin it out, you just use a little bit of cream. So that's this layer, and I think we need to go and check if our brownies are cool. Alright, so our brownies have cooled 100%, like they are room temperature. There's not any warmth left in them, which is exactly what you want, because if you have any warmth left in these, the second layer, your frosting is just going to melt into a puddle, and that is not what we want. So we've got our frosting and our brownie, and we're just going to put our second layer right on top of the brownie. And now we just want to smooth this out into a nice, even, thick layer on the top. Just like that. And that is our second layer, and our top layer is optional and mostly decorative. You can add it if you like, or again, you can eat this just as is. Now, for the third and final layer of this, in a lot of Grasshopper Brownie Bar recipes, you will notice, if you happen to Google this or look a bunch more recipes up online, a lot of them have a complete top layer of a chocolate ganache, which is customary, common, I suppose. In my case, I think a full top layer of ganache is a little too much. It's a little too sweet. So I prefer to actually make a little bit of ganache and just drizzle it over the top. So that's what I'm going to do with this. And to make chocolate ganache, you basically need heavy cream and you need chocolate of whatever persuasion that happens to be. In this case, I'm using some nice dark chocolate because I think it'll go good with the mint. I also have some mini chocolate chips here, and I have some of these little After 8 Thin Mints, which I'm going to chop into small pieces, and I'm going to just use that to top the brownie bars. So we're just going to make the ganache here, which really is nothing more than stirring chopped chocolate into hot cream. So that's what we're going to do here. I'm just going to warm up my cream, chop up my chocolate, and I'll meet you up in 1 second. Alright, so I've got my chocolates all chopped up, and this is what I'm going to be making into the ganache. And as you can see, I have some cream here that I've heated up in the microwave. Now when you're heating up your heavy cream, you want it to be hot but not boiling. So you want to try and get it as close to boiling as you can get without actually scalding it. Otherwise that will cause all kinds of funny things to happen. You don't want that to happen. So basically we're just going to take the hot cream and we're going to pour it over top of the chocolate and let it melt. And depending on how thick or how thin you want your ganache, that's basically how much cream that you want to add. So this is probably good because I want mine to be a little bit thicker. I am going to have to give this another microwave blast because I don't think it was quite warm enough to melt my chocolate, but that is no problem. When you're microwaving this, you want to do it in 10-second bursts, again, because you do not want to scorch this. You just want to heat it up enough so that all of those chocolate nuggets in there will melt. So I'm just going to pop this back into the microwave and I'll be right back. And there we go, ta-da! Lovely, smooth chocolate ganache. Now the difference between a ganache and just a melted chocolate is this will stay softer and smoother. It will not solidify again because it's got that heavy cream in it. So I'm just going to put this in a piping bag and then we will decorate the top of our brownie bars. Okay, so we're now completely ready to decorate our brownie bars. I've got my mini chocolate chips here. I've got my after eight mints that have been chopped up into pieces. And I have my chocolate ganache. Now, like I said, if you prefer, you can make more of this than I did. Again, it all depends on how much chocolate you have. It's just chocolate and heavy cream. And you can go completely over the top. I prefer a little bit less. If you're going to do that as well, I recommend putting this in the refrigerator or freezer first, so it's going to firm up your frosting before you pour it over top. But because I am not, I'm just going to be doing it as a drizzle. I don't have to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ganache and I'm literally just going to drizzle over top just like this. And we'll go one way. And we'll go the other way. Now with our ganache all drizzled on, we're just going to take our chocolatey bits and we're going to sprinkle them over top. And that's it, folks. That is our pan of Grasshopper Brownie Bars. Now I am just going to pop this into the fridge for a few minutes because it's going to firm it up a little and it cuts much nicer when it's firm, but that's all there is to it. Thanks very much, folks, for baking with me today, and I hope you enjoyed your Grasshopper Brownie Bars. I also hope you're looking as forward to spring as I am. So that's me from Haliburton County Public Library signing off, and I will see you all again next Thursday. Bye!